Imagine being a Starfleet engineer in the late 24th century. The Borg had nearly destroyed Earth. The Dominion War was on the horizon. Every major power was building stronger, faster, and deadlier warships. So Starfleet asked a simple question. What if one ship could do everything? Not just explore, not just fight, not just survive, but dominate every battlefield while carrying some of the most advanced technology ever conceived. The answer was the USS Prometheus. On paper, it wasn't just another starship, it was a technological revolution. It introduced systems that made even the Galaxy class and Sovereign class look conventional. Yet despite all of its brilliance, Starfleet never produced it in large numbers. Why? Because the Prometheus may have been the most over-engineered starship Starfleet ever built. And just to be clear, it wasn't only the USS Prometheus. The entire Prometheus class was built around this same over-engineered philosophy. To understand the Prometheus, we first have to understand the era that created it. For almost a century, Starfleet's philosophy revolved around exploration. Ships like the Constitution, Excelsior, and Galaxy classes were designed to spend years charting unknown space, making first contact, and conducting scientific research. Combat was important, but it wasn't the primary mission. That philosophy changed after the Battle of Wolf 359. A single Borg cube destroyed 39 Federation starships in one of Starfleet's worst military disasters. Suddenly, exploration alone wasn't enough. The Federation needed ships that could fight. The Defiant class was the first major response, a compact warship built specifically to combat the Borg. But Starfleet didn't stop there. Somewhere inside Starfleet's Advanced Starship Design Bureau, engineers decided to push every known technology to its limit. The result was the Prometheus. At first glance, the Prometheus doesn't look dramatically different from other Federation ships. It has sleek lines, twin-warp nacelles, and the familiar Starfleet aesthetic. But beneath that hull was one of the most complex engineering projects in Federation history. Its most famous feature was, of course, the multi-vector assault mode. Unlike traditional saucer separation, where one section detached mainly for emergency situations, the Prometheus could split into 3 fully independent starships. Each section possessed its own warp drive, its own shields, its own weapons, its own propulsion systems, and each section could fight independently while coordinating attacks with the others. Imagine trying to fight one Federation cruiser, and suddenly you're fighting 3 coordinated warships attacking from different directions. It was unlike anything the Alpha Quadrant had ever seen. On paper, multi-vector assault mode solved numerous tactical problems. Enemy ships could no longer concentrate fire on a single target. One section could flank, another could distract, the third could attack vulnerable systems. The ship became incredibly unpredictable. Against slower opponents, it would have been devastating. Against Borg vessels, the ability to attack simultaneously from multiple angles could potentially overwhelm adaptive defenses before they fully compensated. It was brilliant, but it also created enormous engineering challenges. Splitting a starship into 3 independent vessels isn't as simple as separating pieces of metal. Every section required duplicate systems, independent life support, independent structural integrity fields, independent inertial dampeners, independent warp cores, or at least propulsion systems capable of sustaining warp travel, redundant computer systems, redundant sensors, redundant command centers, redundant shield generators, redundant tactical controls. Instead of building one incredibly advanced ship, Starfleet had effectively built 3. And that's where the term over-engineered truly begins to make sense. Most Federation starships are designed around efficiency. The Prometheus wasn't. It was designed around capability, regardless of complexity. Everything had backups. Everything had redundancies. Everything was interconnected. That level of sophistication made the ship extraordinarily powerful. It also made it incredibly expensive. Every hour of maintenance likely required teams of specialized engineers. Every damaged docking mechanism had to align with microscopic precision. Every reconnection after multi-vector assault mode demanded flawless synchronization. One small failure during recombination could have catastrophic consequences. The ship's computer systems were equally remarkable. The Prometheus possessed one of Starfleet's most advanced levels of automation. When the vessel was hijacked by the Romulans in Star Trek Voyager, much of its combat capability continued functioning with surprisingly little crew input. That wasn't accidental. Starfleet wanted a ship capable of operating effectively even after sustaining heavy casualties. Automation reduced crew workload. It increased reaction speed. It improved combat efficiency. But automation also introduced another problem. Complex software creates new vulnerabilities. Every advanced combat algorithm, every automated targeting system, every synchronized flight computer, every distributed command network added another layer of engineering that had to function perfectly under battlefield conditions. The Prometheus also carried weapons that reflected Starfleet's changing priorities. This wasn't a science vessel that happened to defend itself. This was a warship that happened to belong to Starfleet. Heavy phaser arrays, quantum torpedoes, advanced targeting systems, high-speed maneuverability, powerful shields. Everything about the vessel emphasized tactical superiority. Yet unlike the Defiant, the Prometheus didn't sacrifice versatility. It still retained Federation technology for long-range missions, advanced sensors, and independent deployment. It wanted to be an explorer, a battleship, a rapid response vessel, and an experimental prototype, all at once. Perhaps the most astonishing aspect of the Prometheus wasn't its weapons, it was its speed. According to Star Trek lore, the class was capable of sustaining extremely high warp velocities, making it one of the fastest ships Starfleet had ever produced. Speed alone is difficult to engineer. Combining extreme speed with heavy weapons, massive structural reinforcement, 3 independent combat sections, and advanced automation made the engineering challenge exponentially greater. Every improvement affected another system. More power required larger energy distribution networks. More weapons required stronger reactors. Higher warp speeds generated greater stresses. Splitting the ship required stronger structural integrity fields. Nothing existed in isolation. Every innovation forced engineers to redesign something else. This is exactly why real-world engineers often say that the hardest part of designing advanced machines isn't adding new technology. It's making all of that technology work together. The Prometheus represents that principle perfectly. Every feature depended on another. Every system relied on countless others. The ship became a masterpiece of systems integration. It also became incredibly complicated. So why didn't Starfleet build hundreds of them? The answer probably comes down to practicality. Prototype ships often demonstrate what's possible rather than what's practical. The Prometheus was likely expensive to build, expensive to maintain, required highly trained crews, demanded specialized dock facilities, and contained technologies unsuitable for mass production during wartime. The Federation instead diversified. The Sovereign class balanced exploration and combat. The Defiant remained a dedicated escort. The Akira excelled in carrier-style operations. The Luna class focused on scientific exploration. Each class specialized. The Prometheus tried to excel at everything. Ironically, many of its ideas influenced later Federation design philosophy. Automation became increasingly common. Combat systems improved. Redundancy increased. Advanced tactical networking evolved. Starfleet learned from the Prometheus, without necessarily copying it outright. That's often how revolutionary prototypes work. They aren't built in large numbers. Instead, they change everything that follows. There's another reason the Prometheus fascinates Star Trek fans. It represents a philosophical shift. For generations, Starfleet believed diplomacy and exploration would always come first. The Prometheus quietly acknowledged that the galaxy had changed. The Borg, the Dominion, the rise of increasingly sophisticated adversaries. Peace still mattered, but peace now required strength. The Prometheus embodied that uncomfortable reality. It wasn't built because Starfleet wanted war. It was built because Starfleet feared what might happen if it wasn't prepared. Even today, decades after its debut, the Prometheus remains one of the franchise's most fascinating starships. Not because it was the largest, not because it carried the most weapons, but because it attempted something no other Federation vessel had ever tried. It challenged the very idea of what a starship could be: a cruiser, a destroyer, a squadron, a technological showcase, all contained within a single hull. That ambition made it extraordinary. It also made it one of the most complex engineering achievements Starfleet ever attempted. In the end, the USS Prometheus wasn't a failure. Far from it. It proved that Starfleet engineers could build almost anything they imagined. The real lesson was different. Just because something can be built doesn't always mean it should. The Prometheus demonstrated the incredible heights Federation engineering could reach, but it also revealed the hidden costs of pushing technology beyond practicality. That's why the Prometheus remains such an unforgettable ship, not because it was perfect, but because it represented the moment Starfleet tried to build the ultimate starship and may have engineered something just a little too advanced for its own good.